Hello, everyone. Today is a very special day since we have the two largest men on the entirety of the MAC3 card going down March 8th. There's a lot of great matches on that card. We've got Ola Danilov against Brad Grundy. We've got Pork Chop against Jerome Loud. We've got these two big guys. And then the main event, we're going to have Auden Laird against Artem Taranenko. I struggle so much with their names, Auden, Artem. They're so similar. We need different names for the next super matches because I am getting confused. Anyway, it's going to be a great event. These two guys are on the card. Make sure to get the pay per view. The link is in the description. We're going to ask them some questions, see how they're feeling, and get a feel for the match. All right. So the first question I have for both of you is to share a bit about yourself. How did you discover your arm wrestling? When did you discover arm wrestling? And what are some of your biggest accomplishments? And we'll start with Philip first.
Yeah, well, I've I started arm wrestling about 2 years ago when I ruined my knee completely. So I used to be a strongman powerlifter. So my when that went out of the picture, like I couldn't use my legs, I figured why not try arm wrestling? I have friends like Petra Dam, and she brought me into it slowly. So that's where I started about 2 years ago, and then it's just I got bitten by the bug, so I just figured let's go, fucking all in.
That's great. And then, what would you say are your biggest accomplishments so far in your career?
Well, I don't know which one is the biggest, but I
Maybe
guess
that
the
Brad
highest
Grundy
rank.
match.
Yeah, it could
Sorry,
be.
not to interrupt. That's what impressed me.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I'd say that one then.
Yeah, I would definitely say from the outside looking in, I'm gonna say the Brad Grundy match is probably the most impressive. But that's not been the only thing you did. You also won the super heavyweight division and at the King of the Table 13 tournament. But I would say,
Yeah,
yeah, like your most impressive win from a pure arm wrestling standpoint, even though your most popular moment is probably you and Devin, your most
yeah.
impressive for
Getting
sure is definitely you and Brad Grundy. All
yeah,
right,
getting
and
my
then
ass whipped.
and then Rick, you. So like share a little bit about yourself, how you discovered arm wrestling, and your biggest accomplishments to date.
Found a flyer at my gym back in '99, something like that. Tried out a local tournament. Hurt for months after that, so I walked away from it for a couple of years. Got back into it in 2002, and yeah, that's what I've been doing ever since. Won
And and what would you say are your
nationals in
biggest matches?
2007.
Okay.
Biggest matches? Let's see. Well, not everybody remembers I beat both Devin and Ron Bath at the Mike Gould Classic. Didn't hurt that they had a super match before that, but as
Hey,
good wins
still,
for the
not a lot
same
of
day.
people
It
could
was
pin
a
those
good day.
guys under any
Yeah, yeah,
circumstance, frankly.
yeah. But more recently, Josh Bellin, he was a tough match. Um, uh, Things went my way with Nick Stone up in at the East versus West qualifier. Uh, let's see.
And
Yeah, I don't know. It's been
for those who don't know, Nick Stone just beat a guy. It was this big Japanese guy, and that big Japanese guy, I think, beat Matteo Warangi Hedemorris, if I'm not mistaken. So Nick Stone is a pretty legit guy, even though he's got a YouTube channel. I think a lot of people assume if you have a YouTube channel, you're bad at arm wrestling. And listen, I am the rule, not the exception. But that guy is the exception, not the rule. All right, that guy is actually pretty damn good. So yeah, so beating Nick Stone is no joke. All right. And then my other first question, and that's not really a question, it's more of a little bit of provoking. But Philip told me that your new name, since a lot of people call you Big Rick Heidebrecht, it should be Small Rick or Little Rick or something along those lines. If you were to win, what would be your proposed nickname for Philip?
for Philip. Oh, I don't know. You're putting me on the spot. I don't know. I'm not. Sorry, Philip. I ain't got
Yeah,
anything fancy picked out.
I mean,
it's
maybe
fine.
it could just be as simple as possible, just maybe Tiny Philip from here on out. Or, but I can't call him Tiny
Call him
Philip, but
Tiny
you
Philip.
call him Tiny Philip.
Well, that's why I did not pick Big Rick. That's just sort of what stuck. And I've told people before, like, there's always somebody bigger. So when you call it whoever it is, when you go by Big whatever, And then you're standing next to somebody that's got a couple inches on you. It seems kind of silly, but
Mm,
that's what stuck.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely
yeah,
say even if you're not the largest human on the planet, Big Rick is pretty good because you are much bigger than most people. So I would say Big Rick Heidebrecht is a pretty, it rolls off the tongue very nicely. I feel like it's a good nickname.
I agree. But
But
that sparked from a comment when I posted the match card that I was going to face Big Rick. There was a Canadian guy who said something, and then I just said he's going to be a regular Rick from now on, or maybe I said Little Rick.
I think
Some
I was also instigating. I said I think for one day Rick will be normal sized Rick. For the one day you face Philip Larsson, it'll be the first time you
Mm.
face someone who's even bigger because Philip makes. Honestly, Philip was a guy when I first met him. Obviously, I expected him to be big, but we were literally just saying off camera, he's a lot leaner than I expected. He was saying like if he stripped all the fat off his body, he thinks he'd be like 330. 330 is a pretty big guy to be lean. So
Not all the fat, not all the fat.
okay, but a lot of the fat.
Yeah, like I weighed 133 kg and I measured in at 10% body fat. So uh, then you have to do the math there. It's after midnight here, so my math is not working. My brain is not mathing right now.
All right. So the first question, and this will be for both of you. If you win, how do you see the match going? And I'll ask you, Rick, first.
um, you asking me what I'm going to do so I can let Philip know ahead of time, or
Well, I'll be asking Philip too, but you could definitely like lie as much as you want on this question, or tell as much of the
all
truth as you
right,
want.
I'll tell the truth. I'm just going to hold on to Philip till he wears out. That's it.
On the
That's
winning,
that's the game plan.
okay.
What's it?
So you predict you're gonna have much better endurance than him?
That I feel if I can stop it, I feel good about it. Yeah,
Okay.
that's but I saw what he did with Brad there. That's what makes me nervous. So yeah, I think if I can hold on, if I think if I can get the stop, it favors me. But that's the big question, right?
Yeah, Brad was also just coming back at the time, and he was like, I wouldn't say he was at his 100% if it gives you any glimmer of hope. That being said, I don't know if 100% Brad Grundy would have done much different. It's hard to know. But anyway, okay, Philip, how do you see the match going if you were to win?
Well, my way, of course, and I only have one way, and that's top rolling, going outside.
And Big Rick,
So
how often do you get top roll?
Ah, it happens. Yeah, yeah. Everybody gets top
What you're
rolled.
supposed to say is, I never lose my wrist. Philip, if
Oh yeah,
that's
no,
your
that's
plan,
what I
you've
meant.
got no
Yeah,
chance.
yeah.
well, I'd prefer if he kept his wrist though.
Oh, I don't think I'm going to lose my wrist, but yeah, you never know when you get up top and you know.
It's better leverage
Uh,
for me if you not don't lose your wrist.
oh yeah, no, it's a bad spot to be in for a top roller when the other guy, if he can hold on
Yeah.
with a
Yeah,
bent back wrist, yeah. Worst thing for a top roller is a flop press, right? So,
I mean,
yeah,
one
but
of
which
if you know
isn't
it's coming, it's good.
the worst feelings as a top roller is when you've top rolled and you have a guy like right here. And basically, what happened with you and Terrence Opperman, where you get a little
Yeah,
overpronated and you have everything, but you still can't finish. That is one of the least like it's like you feel like you've completed your game plan. I took the guy's wrist, and then afterwards you're still not ever succeeding. That is one of the like most
yeah,
unsatisfying feelings in arm wrestling as a top roller is to take the risk but not be able to finish on the winning side. Which I
true.
think, Rick, how good are you at being able to defend on the losing side? Because Philip's a guy. He told me he thinks nobody can top roll him. He said the only people who could top roll him. I'm putting you on spot a little bit. He said the only people who could top roll you are Devin, Levon, Vitali, and maybe Georgi Svekov. You said those four are the only people who could take your wrist. And you showed me that one match with Devin where he actually never top rolled you. I thought he did, but he kind of
Yeah,
it was just flat
he went
wristed.
through me.
He had enough elbow.
Yeah, I'm sure he could do it easily. Like it's It's not like I'm on top rollable. It's just that with my levers, I'm very hard to top roll.
Yeah. What I was going to ask you, Rick, is how good are you after you've lost your wrist on the losing side?
Um, that's the only match I won against Wayne Withers at Mac 2. So holding on from with my wrist back.
Hmm. Yeah, so because
Yeah.
But
like if you're good without your wrist, you're a great match for Phillip. But if you're a guy who like lives and dies by your hand like Brad Grundy definitely struggled because of that because Phillip's hand is so difficult to deal with. And you were gonna say something, Phillip?
they're big. Yeah, like if the wrist is there or not depends on the shoulder position, if it's hard for me or not.
Hmm.
So their shoulder position, like if they're here, I can struggle more. But if they're here, it's not a
Oh,
problem.
well, yeah, for sure. Yeah, if you can't get your shoulder behind it, I
Yeah.
couldn't imagine someone could sit with you on their bicep like this. That wouldn't
Yeah,
necessarily
like
work.
a
But if
king's, you can go a king's
if you can
move.
get your shoulder a little bit behind it like Terrence did, it's a little different.
Yeah.
All right, and then a
But
question
every
for
time I face a problem, I'm trying to solve it.
yeah,
So hopefully that problem is not no longer there.
yeah,
Of course, it's gonna be there if there's a strength gap. But
yeah,
like the technical issues with it, I think I've solved them.
yeah, and also like maybe not solve them, but you've made the strength gap necessary to use this technique. It's only going up about how
Yeah,
likely it is
it's
someone
gonna
could
get
use that.
gonna get harder and harder.
All right, and then the final question for both of you, for first one's for Phillip. How's it going to feel to have the entire crowd cheering against you? You are going on enemy soil to the highest of degrees. How are you feeling about that?
Well, it's just another Tuesday because every other match has been abroad. Florida, Atlantic City, Germany. Everywhere I've been on their home turf, so it doesn't matter to me.
Well, to be fair, in Atlantic City, I was cheering for you. I may have been sick as hell in the hotel room, but I was rooting for you. So let's not act like
Mm.
everybody was rooting against you in Atlantic City. Though this time I'm not going to be in Canada, so I will not be able to cheer you on. So, or maybe
Yeah,
cheer
yeah,
against you. I may be cheering against you, frankly, because if you're in Canada and someone's going, if you see the whole crowd cheering one way, you kind of got to join them sometimes.
that's fine.
All right, and then Rick, question for you: how's it going to feel to be in front of your home crowd, having everybody root for you?
Oh, it feels good, but makes you feel stupid when you lose. But yeah,
Yeah, it definitely adds like. Do you get the sense that it adds more pressure, or do you kind of feel like you feel inspired by it? Like, do you think it's an advantage, a disadvantage, or not really a factor?
I don't. I honestly, I don't really notice what's going on when I'm sort of in it. Um, People try and yell stuff at me, like my corner guy or whoever, and it's I really I gotta plan ahead of time to be listening to my corner guy, or there's like I'm just totally nothing's making it in. Other just what's going on at the table.
So yeah, it feels
So
fun,
I
but
mean,
it's
it's
basically like you think from an arm wrestling perspective, there's no advantage at all or disadvantage.
I don't notice what's going on around me when I mean it's nice to have people cheering for you,
Yeah.
sure, but I honestly don't notice. So
Uh-huh.
You kind of get into your zone when you're there. So
And Philip, do you
yeah,
notice it all or no?
no, not really.
Yeah,
Like you get into the zone, but like in between rounds and stuff, you kind of notice stuff. But as you when you stand at the table and you grip up, there is really nothing going on.
yeah.
Like you're just focusing on what you're doing.
Interesting. Because I've heard of some people saying how much they appreciate having the crowd, like John Brzenk against Leonidas. John said like that was a bit of a difference maker for him. Hearing the crowd cheer, that was a big moment. But you two are both very focused to the point where that's completely not a factor. That's interesting. All right. Well,
Well, I've
anyway, or
never noticed it though. I've
because
never I,
really wow. Because John said it was a big deal for him. He was like, he
yeah.
really noticed when that crowd was cheering.
Well, while he was pulling or in between rounds?
He said while he was pulling because he was saying that was the only reason he went
Mm,
in for the press was he heard his
mm.
corner telling him to go for the press and he felt the energy and that's what made him go for it. At least
Yeah,
in the
well,
first round.
true. When I pulled the Terrence, I heard Molly yelling at me. So yeah, you kind of hear that, but it's still like, yeah. Since there are only a few people cheering for me every time, I don't know. Like, I haven't really noticed it.
And
Like
you're
most
about to
people
go
always cheer
straight
for
in
the other
again
guy.
where you're gonna have everyone rooting for Rick again.
Yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind.
I think the next East vs West needs to be in Sweden or something, so you can experience a little bit of home crowd a bit, or at least somewhere somewhat mixed. I think that's part of the
Yeah,
curse of being from a small country. Like everyone from your country will cheer for you like it's nobody's business, but
yeah,
you may never really get that opportunity to have a full room of people cheering for you, like someone who's American or Georgian.
yeah. Well, maybe if I ever come to East versus West to compete there, I guess I'll have quote unquote fans who will be cheering for me. And if I'm pulling someone who's like, if I'm pulling in Turkey and I'm not pulling against a Turkish guy, then there could be some cheering for me, I guess. But of course, it's always nice with the when the energy is high. It doesn't really matter whose name they're like shouting. In my opinion, you just want to do what you do. You want to win, but you also want to like make it a good, fun match.
Yeah, I have to
That's
say,
why that.
like, I would rather if I was competing, I would rather instead of everyone silently hating me, if you guys are gonna be there, be loud. I don't care who you're loud for,
Yeah,
just like add some energy to the room. I think that's a lot better for the viewer, and as a competitor, I would imagine it feels much better. I've never really competed on like a place where there's gonna be people like screaming people's names, so I'm definitely
mm,
curious to experience that one day and see. I'll be able to resonate with you guys a little better. Anyway,
yeah.
thank you both for coming on. We appreciate this. And MAC3, should the people at home buy the pay per view?
Everyone should buy the pay-per-view.
Absolutely.
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 And if you had to guess, what do you think the match is going to be, Rick Heidebrecht?
Put me on the spot again. I I I honestly have no idea. I don't I mean Phillip's so new, it's sort of hard to tell, where he's at, but at the same time, when you're when you're that fresh into it, you're getting better so quickly, like even week to week. So uh yeah, I don't know. I mean I always feel confident going in, whether that's good or bad. Sometimes it's bad, but um, yeah, no, I'm not going to put a prediction out there.
And what about you, Philip?
Well, I think confidence is always good, even if you lose. You should always go in with the mindset that you're going to win. So, like, I'm not traveling to Canada with the intention to lose. That might be the result, you never know, but I'm not going there to lose. So, I would say like 3-0 for me is what I'm expecting. But like Ian is the one who put this match together, and I must believe that he did that because he believes we are close. So I don't think it will be a one way or the other. Like I don't. I'm hoping that it's not going to be three fast pins. I'm hoping there's going to be fighting, and then whoever wins wins. If it's a fun match, like all the matches I've had that I enjoyed the most have been both my losses
Hmm.
because like they have been very close. It's been a crazy fight, and yeah, you learn more from losing than you do from flash pinning someone.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'll definitely say I don't think this will end in flash pins. This should be a very interesting match. Get your pay per view link in the description. Thank you, Rick and Philip, for coming on. We appreciate it greatly, and it's going to be a great match.